Welcome to It's All Geek to Me, a podcast where two friends experience popular nerdy franchises for the first time. My name is Leah, and this season my co-host Kelli and I will be traveling to a galaxy far, far away as Kelli experiences Star Wars for the very first time. And I'm the expert. Let's dive in. We're back.
And we're back.
Ooh, I jumped the gun.
You did. But that's okay, because we are, in fact, back.
We are.
With part 2 of Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
And I know that all of you are on the edge of your seats because last week, Kelli made some
inflammatory claims.
Yeah, and didn't really like the movie. So, I mean, I'm probably just as curious as you are. Did the second half redeem it, or is this the first flop for Kelli?
This second half felt a lot more like Star Wars, the Star Wars that I know and love.
Yeah.
But it still wasn't like my favorite thing in the world.
I feel you. I understand that.
I think it's my least favorite Star Wars movie. Actually, it might have been episode 8 as my least favorite, but it's not my favorite, but it's not the worst thing that's ever happened.
I understand. I think you're going to like Solo a lot more.
I better, because you know I love Han Solo.
Yeah, we can't leave this on a sour note.
Yeah, no, that would be sad, especially because I loved Star Wars.
I know. Such a good series, such a fun series.
Very fun.
Yeah.
So let's dive right in.
Let's do it.
We left off with our little band of misfits, and they are flying off Eadu after Jyn's daddy died.
Oh, bye, Daddy.
Bye, Daddy. Daddy number 1
hey,
of 3.
We did get Daddy number 3 in the movie.
We did, and I'm so happy to see him. Honestly, my favorite parts were with Darth.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So before we get to him, we see our little band of misfits on the ship, and Jyn is struggling. She is mad.
Yeah, she is.
And why is she mad? Because she knows that Cassian went to Eadu to kill her daddy, Galen. And so she starts confronting him, and he's denying it. And she keeps pushing, and he's like, I had every chance to pull the trigger, but I didn't, did I? And she's like, you may as well have, because it was Alliance bombs that killed him. And he tells her that he disobeyed his orders for her. Well, he didn't say for her, but it was implied.
Yeah.
And she says, orders when you know they're wrong? You might as well be a stormtrooper.
Ooh, that was tough.
Which I thought was rough. Yeah. And he gets mad at her, and he's like, well, what do you know? We don't get the luxury of deciding when something is important to us. Suddenly the Rebel Alliance is real to you, but some of us live it. And he tells us a little bit of a hint about his past. He says he's been in this since he was 6 years old, and she's not the only one who lost everything.
Yeah, and I like that because
it sets them up for a plot.
Yeah, but for him, it kind of shows sort of his motivation and where he's at and why he's so morally gray, because he really believes in this alliance and the rebels, and he's a cog in the machine, and he's willing to be that. And he is doing it because he's lived it his whole life, and he thinks it's going to benefit the greater good.
Yeah. And I will say, in the last section, I was ripping on him a lot, but I did like him a lot better in this section, learning a little bit more about his motivations.
Yeah, I think, like, you know, the format that we watch them, obviously we watch them in sections. And I think that where we ended the last movie really was like a great breaking point in the two movies, but you don't really get to see any sort of redemption from Cassian. And I understand why he feels so almost evil in the first half.
Yeah. That was definitely, it felt like we were seeing the worst side of him in the first half, and in the second half, he reminded me a lot of Poe.
Yeah, I agree.
And I mean, Star Wars formats tend to be the same every time, so understandably so.
Yeah, you can kind of just like
guess what's gonna happen.
Yeah, they're all kind of the same characters in different forms.
Yeah. So anyway, just to finish off that argument, she's like, you can't talk your way around this, and he says, I don't have to, and then he walks away. And then we cut to Krennic, because he has arrived at Darth Vader's little home. I don't know where they are, but somebody comes in and gets Darth while he's in his little suspension tank.
Yeah.
And I was hyped because you love to see Darth.
I was excited to see Vader as well.
AKA Darth, AKA Daddy number 3.
Yeah, I guess we're just going to go with the daddy for this section of the movie.
For some reason. I'm so sorry, but he is Daddy.
We're both in weird moods today. today?
I don't know. I'm just in a silly, goofy mood, you know? So yeah, Krennic is waiting in a room and Darth comes in and he's got his theme music playing. And one thing I will say is in the subtitles, they do always tell me when Darth's music is playing, which I appreciate.
Thank you,
as
subtitles.
A person who doesn't pick up on audio cues.
Dun, 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 dun.
And Darth is like, oh, you seem a little freaked out. I think he says unsettled. And Krennic is like, oh, no, definitely not
I'm
scared.
great.
I'm just pressed for time. You know, I got a lot of stuff to do, a lot on my to-do list. And Darth is like, oh, sorry to take up your time, but you have a lot to explain. And Krennic says that he delivered the weapon that the Emperor requested, and he deserves to speak to him. And he says that it has incredible potential. And Darth is like, yeah, well, its power to create problems has already been confirmed. A city destroyed, an Imperial city openly attacked. And Krennic is like, oh, that was Tarkin, that was not me. And then Darth tells him that the Senate has been told that Jeddah City has been destroyed in a mining accident, not from a Star Killer.
Smart.
And he says that Krennic has to make sure that Galen hasn't compromised the weapon, and he starts walking away, and then Krennic is like, wait, so I'm still in command? You'll speak to the Emperor about? And then Darth starts choking him out with the Force in classic daddy style.
I was gonna say, like, once Vader lets him go, Krennic, like, smiles a little bit.
He loves it.
Did he like it? Does he like daddy?
I think he's just pleased that he does still have power.
And life.
And life, well, yeah.
But his line was fun when he said, do not choke on your aspirations. That was my Vader voice. That was
He said,
good.
this is time to pun. I'm gonna just throw it out there. He's like sampling being funny.
He was very proud of himself when he got back home.
Yeah.
He was like, that was a good joke. Choke aspirations. Get it?
You know, he wrote that in his diary.
Yep. Dear diary, it's Vader here.
He was like, guys, I had a zinger today. You wouldn't believe how bad I burned this guy. Actually, he probably doesn't call it a burn because of his history.
It's probably triggering.
Anyway, meanwhile, the rebels are arguing now that they have Jyn's information, and they are fighting over whether or not her words are true. And guess who we saw amongst the fighting?
Who?
Daddy number 2.
Daddy number 2. Yay, he finally got some lines.
How many people are unsubscribing in droves right now?
Everyone's like, stop with the daddy stuff. I'm done.
After this episode, it's going to be done, but just let me have this for one more section.
Yeah.
It doesn't come up much more. So Jyn somehow has this incredible motivational speech that everyone's just loving in the middle of this argument. And I thought that that meant that it was all going to turn, especially because someone's like, you're asking us to invade an Imperial installation based on nothing but hope. And she says, rebellions are built on hope.
At this point, I'm like, this is rebel propaganda.
Oh, it's infuriating.
It's a little much now. It's a little much.
And for her to parrot the words of Cassian after she just yelled at him for doing what he was told.
Yeah.
Get out of here. I'm not okay with that. So people keep on arguing though. I thought that that was it. I thought that they were going to be like, yeah, Jyn's our new leader. But thankfully that did not happen.
Yeah.
And the leader woman is like, well, without the full force of the council, the odds are too great. I'm sorry, Jyn. And she was also reminding me a lot. I already forgot her name. What was purple haired woman's name?
Holdo.
Yes, it was Holdo.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right. I don't know. She was reminding me of that. And this whole situation definitely just felt like the exact same situation with Poe being like, well, we're going to do it anyway. And then Holdo being like, gasp.
But the difference with this is they didn't kill anybody or hold anyone hostage. They literally just went themselves.
True.
I didn't really consider this any sort of insurrection. And they did succeed in the end. So
yeah, that is true. And also this woman did sense that some stuff was going down. So she sent her people out anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jyn walks away. She's super mad and everyone else disperses. And Baze sees her walking out and he's with his pal, Chirrut. And he's like, you don't look happy. And she's like, they prefer to surrender. And he's like, well, what do you want to do? And then Chirrut is like, she wants to fight. And the pilot guy, who I finally remembered, his name is Bodhi.
Bodhi.
And the way I remembered is because he kind of like has a puppy dog face.
Aww.
And Odie, the dog from Garfield, is very similar to Bodhi.
Is it Odie? I thought it was Otis. No, that's Otis and something. Never mind. It's definitely Odie.
Not. So yeah, he says me too. And then Chirrut is like, the force is strong. And then Jyn is like, yeah, well, I don't think 4 of us is going to be enough. And Baze is like, well, how many do we need? And then she's like, what are you talking about? And then he points behind her and guess who it is? It's Cassian and a bunch of rebels.
Yay.
Sorry, did you want to actually guess? Go ahead. Give me a guess.
Ooh, I think it was Cassian and a bunch of rebels.
Wow, you're right.
Oh
Good
my
job.
gosh, I'm smart.
Well done, well done. And at this point I wrote, this is just the Poe situation again, but it did end a little bit differently. So yeah, the rebels are volunteering and Cassian says we've all done terrible things for the rebellion. And he says every time he walked away from something he wanted to forget, he told himself it was for a cause he wanted to believe in, and he doesn't want it to be for nothing. He couldn't face himself if he gives up now, which I thought really made me understand his motivation as a character.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because at some point you have to consider why you're doing what you're doing. And I think he's kind of just been on autopilot for so long, being a cog in the machine.
Yeah.
And when he was kind of faced with it, when he was arguing with her, that was when he was like, ooh,
right.
Yikes.
And it really reminds me of sort of like my favorite, I don't know if I want to call it a trope, that happens in like war movies or whatever, when the people who are surviving and who have lived through this are kind of talking about all the people that have died along the way and wondering if they're watching them, wondering if they can see them giving up or see them continuing to fight. And I feel like in this moment, though we don't like physically see the people surrounding them, like the dead coming back and watching them, in this instance, I think Cassian is thinking about all the people he killed and all the people who died. The guy he killed in the beginning. Like, if he gives up now, then that guy's death literally was for nothing. That guy got them the information, and then they're just going to sit on it and do nothing because they don't know if they can trust Jyn. And we see the progression of getting the Death Star plans, Luke blowing up the Death Star, and it gives validation and it gives meaning to everyone that was lost along the way.
Right, right. Yeah, definitely very powerful. And I do take back a lot of my thoughts that I had on him in the beginning.
Yay.
And at the time of recording this, we haven't seen people's reaction, but I'm sure they're mad.
I'm sure that they are. Well, if you do end up liking Cassian and you do want to learn more, he is in the show Andor, and him and the other woman with the short hair who told Jyn, sorry, it's not going to happen, are two of the main characters. And she's fine. She's okay. But his story is interesting, like his backstory and where he comes from. I enjoyed it a lot.
Maybe.
Is
there any more content that involves the characters from the original Skywalker saga? Because that, I think, is where I would want to start.
Yes, there is a 6-episode miniseries called
Clone Wars?
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, yeah, well, that'll do it.
And that takes place while Obi-Wan is still in hiding on Tatooine, and it's a good story.
Yeah. Well, there's certainly a whole lot of content that I can catch up on if I so desire.
Yeah. Especially if you like Hayden Christensen, you might want to watch that series.
Oh, all right. Well, I will be watching that. So there you go. So yeah, Bodhi is like, it's going to be a little cramped in the ship, but I'm sure we can all fit, which I think is so dumb. And at that point, that's why I was like, he kind of reminds me of Odie the dog.
He is a little like puppy-like. I can see it.
There's something a little puppy-like about him.
Yeah.
So K2 is like, Jyn, I'll be there for you. And Jyn like looks at him and he's like, Cassian said I have to, which I love. I didn't write down too many quotes for this movie, but every single time K2 spoke, I was like, this is worth writing down.
This is worthy, yeah.
This is good. So they get onto the ship with all the rebels, and Jyn says, may the force be with us, which I thought was very powerful.
Wait, you missed a section. Before they get onto the ship, Jyn goes up to Cassian and says that she's not used to people sticking around, and he says, welcome home. And it shows the camaraderie.
Oh yeah, I just totally ignored that part because I decided that I didn't want them to hook up. So anything that I perceived as slightly romantic, my eyes glazed over.
Well, they didn't hook up. Though I really do think I am being affected by the Mandela effect in this movie because I swore they kissed at the end.
Mandela.
Exactly. That's what I said. Mandela.
Oh no, did you just Mandela affect me?
Yeah, I did. But yeah, I swore they kissed at the end. And I swore that K2 was a woman in love with Cassian. But,
You just made that up.
And I have seen this movie a lot. I really have.
Really?
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing. Anyway, they get on the ship. She says, let's have the force come with us. What'd she say?
She said that? That's what she said.
Mandela effect again.
Mandela effect. I thought she said something else. What would you do if you went back to watch the Star Wars movies and they just said something else every time? And you were like, wait, I always thought it was may the force be with you. And it's the force is coming with us.
This whole time.
That would be wild.
That would be crazy.
Well, this is why we're recording this podcast, because in case of any Mandela effect, now we'll have this for reference. reference.
Yes.
So if we ever get transferred to another dimension, although what if we had a podcast in the other dimension?
That's true.
And said, is the Force coming with us?
What if our podcast is totally about something different, though?
Ooh, what if it's about nail polish?
What if it's about decorative soaps?
I love watching soap videos. We'll talk about that more later.
Yeah. It's the next podcast. We're starting a new one.
It's all soap to me. That's a good idea.
No, it's not.
Okay. Anywho, so someone over the radio is like, why are you guys on that Imperial ship? It's not supposed to be used. What's your call sign? And Bodhi, being the pilot that he is like, and Jyn is like, you got to say something. You have to say something. And he's like, it's Rogue One. And then I turned off the movie. So I don't know what else happens.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us for this episode of Rogue One. We really hope you like it. We'll be back next week with Solo. Bye.
Bye.
Just kidding.
Just kidding. No. So then they do fly off because he's like, Rogue One. There is no Rogue One. And Bodhi's like, there is now.
And they
kissed.
They didn't kiss.
Oh.
Did you think they kissed? Did you see them kiss? Mandela effect?
Every time I blink, I see kissing.
Okay.
So
interesting.
So then Daddy 2, I actually don't remember his name.
His name is Bale, and the woman he's talking to is Mon, which again, they never say her name until Andor, so I didn't know what her name was.
Okay. So he has to head back to Alderaan, and he is going to reach out to his Jedi friend in hiding.
Who could that be?
We have no idea.
Do you have a guess?
My guess?
Yeah.
Do you want me to guess?
Yeah, guess.
I think it's Anakin.
Oh.
Just kidding.
Yeah. I think it's Obi-Wan
It's
Kenobi.
Obi.
Yeah.
And the woman...
Mon.
Like Pokemon.
Yeah.
Okay. She is like, well, you need someone you can trust. And he says, I would trust her with my life.
And who could that be?
Could it be Anakin? I'm just kidding.
It could be, but I think it might be Leia.
It's Princess Leia. So they are going to try to give an access code to be allowed into the Imperial base because they are technically on an Imperial ship. So if nobody notices, they can get on it easily. And K2 is like, well, not if it's an overdue code, you know? And then Jyn is like, wait, what do you mean? What happens if they don't accept it? And Bodhi is like, well, then they would close the gate and we would die in the vacuum of space. And then K2 is like, not me.
I can survive.
I can survive in space.
Yeah. K2's like, that's actually fine. It's okay if that happens.
You guys can die. I'm not going to, though. Couldn't be me. Can't relate. So then they do try to make a landing, and the security guy's like, you're not scheduled to be here. And Bodhi is like, yeah, we were rerouted, but I do have a clearance code. And Jyn pulls out her Kyber crystal, and I'm going to say what Leah always tells me, which is that I'm assuming she uses the Force.
She uses the
so
Force.
So that they can get on to the base.
But this was intentional, you know?
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, it's a plot hole. The Force. It was the Force.
True. But I mean, everything is just solved. But why don't they just use the Force to make the Empire not exist? Done.
Well, because you have to be weak-minded.
And you know who's weak-minded? The Empire.
Well, some of them are, but some of them are definitely strong-minded. Like, I don't think the Force would work on Tarkin.
Good point. Mostly because he's CGI and therefore he's just a droid.
Yeah, he's not even real. His hair is funny to me because his hair looks so fake.
I feel like it's his lips. Like when his mouth moves, it's like not exactly right.
And there's like no life behind his eyes, but like there's no life behind Tarkin's eyes anyway because he's evil.
Yeah, I don't know if there was much life behind his eyes in the beginning.
Not much.
He was just kind of an evil guy. But yeah, I don't know. There's just something slightly off about it, but it is impressive, I will say.
It is.
The technology to do that.
It does look pretty good, but I would have preferred them to not do that.
No, I agree. I feel like you could definitely just find an old guy.
Yeah.
You know? And just call him Tarkin.
But I think because it was like right before episode 4, they're like, oh, it must be the same actor. But as I said, Carrie Fisher did give them permission. They asked her and she was like, yeah, you could CGI me young. So then after she died, they were like, oh, she already gave us permission so we can do it again.
Yeah. I will say that ending did make me like feel a little choked up. But we'll talk about that later. So Cassian sees a little tower. First of all, can I just say the baddies are very good at picking a good planet.
Yeah.
Because I want to live there. Little tropical paradise, turquoise waters, palm trees, beaches.
It was a pretty planet, yeah. Especially when they were fighting on the beach. I really enjoyed the visuals there.
Yeah, very beautiful. Would love to be on that beach, not during the fighting, but just like
hanging,
chilling with like a little pina colada, virgin pina colada.
I do hate to tell you, but the Death Star did blow that beach up, so good luck.
I love that you told me that as if I didn't just watch the movie.
Oh my god, you watched the movie? I thought you shut it off after the Rogue One.
Oh yeah. No, you're right. I did.
You lied. She's gonna use the Force to dictate the rest of the film.
Yeah, I'm just gonna close my eyes and guess what happens. So I have a feeling that Cassian saw a little tower and he was like, "What is that?" And Bodhi was like, "Oh, that's the Citadel Tower. All Imperial structural archives are there, and there's also this giant satellite dish for sending out the data files."
Convenient.
Can I ask you a quick aside?
Yeah.
Do you say data or data?
Ooh, that's a good question.
It's a tough question. I shouldn't have said it.
Data. Yeah, you should have said, how do you say the word DATA?
How do you guys in the comments say it?
Data. I feel like I probably say data.
I say data unless I'm just like if I said there was a data breach or some people's data got compromised, I would say data. But if I was saying like, oh, there's just a bunch of data, I would just say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that.
Depends on the context. It's like the versus the.
Yes.
Like if you're like, oh, I'm going to the beach.
Or I'm going to the beach that got blown up.
Yeah. I'm going to the beach that got blown up in that movie.
That'd be the beach.
That's what I said.
The beach. You said the.
Did I not say it? Uh-oh. Maybe I do say the.
Mandela effect.
We have to stop digressing. Listen, I'm just trying to spice it up. It's kind of a boring movie.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So yeah, before they land, Jyn gives another impassioned speech and she says that her and Cassian and K2 are going to find the Death Star plans and they assign everybody else their stuff, which I didn't write down, but we're going to see it anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I didn't write down like what was assigned, but I did love what she said when she says they have no idea we're coming, they have no reason to expect us, and something about they're going to keep going until there are no more chances. Because she said something that Saw said, where if someone has nothing to lose, they can fight harder and stronger than someone with more power than them.
Yeah, which I do think is interesting because now, I mean, we kind of knew this all along, but they're all willing to die for the cause and they are all going to die for the cause.
Yeah.
So it's kind of wild to hear them all kind of just confirm that that's what's going to happen.
Did you at any point get clued into the fact that they were all going to die?
I mean, I knew just because they are not the people that gave the data to the people, you know what I mean? Like I knew from the beginning, I think, of this movie that everyone was kind of doomed.
Yeah, I felt that way as well. I remember right after this movie had come out, I was at work and I was talking to someone about it and they said they really liked the movie, but the ending upset them. And I hadn't seen it yet. And I said, well, everyone died in the end, right? And they were like, yeah, I thought you didn't see it. And I was like, yeah, but like, it's obvious. I feel like it's obvious that everybody dies in the end because
otherwise it wouldn't be Leia.
Yeah, if they were still alive, then they would be part of the next chapter.
Yeah,
they say
absolutely.
something in episode 4, like, you know, something about what they went through to get the plans. Like, I don't remember exactly what it was. But yeah, I thought it was super obvious that everyone was going to die. But I love how it does play out and every single person plays an important role in making it happen.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. I mean, tying it in to episode 4, I think there's a lot of cool aspects of this film. I like learning about the backstory of it and how it all came to be. When I say it's a boring movie, I'm just saying like when I watch the 9 movies, I'm probably not gonna throw this one on as like a must watch. You know what I mean?
I don't either. Typically, like I'll either do each trilogy on its own, I'll do all 9 together, but Solo and Rogue One are kind of separate. If I'm gonna watch Rogue One,
yeah,
it's just because I'm interested in watching Rogue One.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, they do end up landing and then an inspection team arrives and they go in and Bodhi is like, oh, you guys are probably looking for a manifest, huh? And they're like, yeah, that would be helpful. And he's like, oh, it's just down here. And he's pointing to where the rebels are all hiding. And meanwhile, guess who else is coming to this tropical, gorgeous island?
Who is coming?
Krennic and his people.
Gross.
Yeah. I don't know who he thinks he is with his cape.
You know what bothered me so much in one of these scenes? We were seeing him from behind. His cape was not steamed. It was so wrinkled and it drove me insane.
Of course.
Yeah.
Maybe he was just taking 5 and he was sitting down and he rumpled his cape.
Oh my gosh.
You think this guy's steaming his cape every time he has a seat?
Yes.
I wouldn't.
If he makes it flow behind him, then it won't get wrinkled.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Well, he's dead now, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, thank God.
But the rebels, they do knock out the stormtroopers. We don't even get to see it. They just pull the stormtroopers storms away. And then Baze says to Jyn, "Good luck, little sister," which was cute.
They're besties.
They're besties now, I guess.
And I like Jyn and Cassian's new outfits.
Yeah, they pull on their outfits. Cassian's like a little commander, and Jyn is the non-stormtrooper kind of stormtrooper. And K2 is just himself because he's already Imperial, so it's fine.
But he's really bad at lying, I have to say.
Yeah, and he actually almost says my least favorite line of any movie or TV show.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
And they're like, "Shh, be quiet." And I'm like, dude, same.
Yeah.
Because I hate it. And then we've got the rebels. They're sneaking through the trees and they're making their way. And we see Krennic coming and he is landing at the main building. And our little original trio of main characters needs to find a map. And K2 is like, "Oh, I'm sure there's just one lying around somewhere." And Cassian is like, "You know what you need to do." So they go into the building and Chirrut knocks out some stormtroopers and the rebels start to take place around. They've got these little bombs that they're placing around all of the islands and the landing pads.
Yeah.
So they're kind of just plotting what their distraction/battle is going to be.
Yep, getting everything ready.
Why is Krennic there, you may be wondering to yourself? Well, he is there because he wants to go through all of Galen's messages to see if anything sketch was ever sent out.
Smart.
Is that New Jersey lingo or is that universal lingo?
No, people know what sketch means. Sketchy.
Yeah, like suspicious.
Yeah. Sus.
Just in case, what if people who are listening to this, English is not their first language?
Oh, that's true. Or what if they're listening to this in 80 years and we don't even know what the lingo is? Lingo might not even be a word.
Oh my gosh, vernacular.
Yeah. You know when I thought I was old or when I felt old? When people started saying cap. It took me a while to figure out what that meant.
Cap was the thing that got
Cap
me
was
too.
The thing. Yeah.
Cap was the one where I was like, okay, so I am officially not getting the new lingo anymore.
Yeah, that was the word for me.
But you know what they say now that also, I believe I understand what it means, but Riz?
Oh yeah, I got the Riz. Charisma.
Yeah, it just, you don't have to say it. Not you. I'm saying you as a whole society.
I like Riz. I think Riz is cool.
I don't like Riz because I love the word charisma and I do like shortening words, don't get me wrong, but I'm just scared that certain words, when they're shortened, people aren't going to know what the original word is.
Yeah, that's true, but that's what lingo is. It's not even, what's the word I'm looking for? Not lingo, but slang.
Vernac.
Or vernacular, yeah. Vernac. Vern.
I'm going to start calling it Vern.
No cap, this has been a very long digression. Let's get back to the
Yeah.
See? I learned.
Sorry, I don't have any Riz. You're so good at this. You have a lot of Riz.
Thanks. I feel the Riz.
Anywho, so Krennic wants to get all of Galen's messages to see if anything suspicious was ever sent out. And oh no.
I gotta stop. I'm sorry.
I also hate sus.
I love sus.
You love sus. You say it all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, suspicious?
No, sus is cool.
So K2, I guess he knocks out an Imperial droid and he downloads the info from him and he figures out that there are 89 stormtroopers in the way of them and the Death Star plans and they won't make it 33% of the way before they get killed.
Why 89? Couldn't it just be 90?
You don't like 89? It's a good number.
No.
89, feeling fine.
Anyway.
So Cassian knows that they need to have a little distraction, so he makes the signal to blow up all the bombs and Krennic sees it from where he is and everyone's just watching and he's like, "What are you staring for? Deploy the garrison." And then all the stormtroopers run out. So presumably there are less than 89 now.
Significantly less, I would say.
And Tarkin is on the Death Star and he gets word that there is an incursion on Scarif and Tarkin's like, "Oh, well, let's pop on over there. I want to speak to Krennic." And he knows that the plans are on this planet, so I think he suspects what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And the rebel base also finds out that there are rebels on Scarif because they intercepted an Imperial message and the rebels on the base are gonna go there and they're gonna go help out because all the rebels gotta stick together, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I guess in this section this is kind of getting to be a little bit more like Poe and his insurrection because now other people who didn't want to be involved are involved, but again they win in the end, so it's fine.
And we actually got a little cameo.
From who? Us.
From C-3PO and R2-D2. K2,
For me and
aka
you.
me and Leah.
I love that.
Yeah. And me, in classic me style, was like, nobody tells me anything. So then Bodhi tries to draw off the Empire people by saying that he's at another landing pad and that the rebels are there. And he's like, I see 40 rebels at pad 2. And then he gives it to another guy and he's like, tell them you're at pad 5 and you also see rebels over there, because he's trying to lead them away.
Yeah.
You know? And I wrote, uh-oh, the AT-ATs are coming.
The AT-ATs.
And that's not good.
And Chirrut feels it, which is cool.
Chirrut feels it, yeah. And he tells his lover,
Yeah, they're lovers.
Baze, to run. Yeah, for sure, right?
They're lovers. They're the love story of this film. Not K2 and
They
Cassian, as I was led to believe for some weird
I have
reason.
no idea why you would think that.
I don't know.
K2 shows no emotion. K2 is ace.
I feel like
okay?
I'm thinking of something else. I remember a droid dying in someone's arms. Someone tell me I'm wrong.
I think you're wrong.
Maybe it's in Solo. Maybe.
Are you spoiling Solo?
No, I don't think. Oh, God, I don't remember. There's definitely a woman droid somewhere.
Anyway, stop digressing and trying to distract me from the best movie in the Star Wars franchise.
Okay.
The main trio gets into the vault thingy, and rebels are popping in from hyperspace at Scarif, and the smaller ships, I guess they're fighters, but they're not TIE fighters.
Mhm.
They get into the planet before they close the shield. They have like a very cool little like aperture shield thing. I like it.
Yeah, it was cool, but it did kill a bunch of rebels.
It did kill a bunch of rebels, but that's okay because it was cool.
Did you notice that in the Star Wars part of this, the War Among the Stars?
I kept on referring to it as the Star Wars.
So did I. I was like, and back to the Star Wars. But did you notice that sometimes when they would have close-ups of like the red leaders or the red team or the blue team inside, that some of the footage looked way older than the other footage?
Yeah, I was wondering if that was from the original movie.
So it was discarded footage that was never used. They revamped it, but it was very obviously not filmed now.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that was cute though.
No, I did too. I thought it was cute.
So K2 tells Cassian and Jyn that the rebels have arrived and they did lock down the base, so they realize that they're all trapped there. And K2 says that they can transmit the files, but somebody does have to take the shield gate down. They do have to get it through the shield because there's too much info.
Yeah.
So Cassian calms Bodhi and he tells him that they need to tell the rebels to blow a hole in the shield. And Bodhi's like, I can't, like, I'm not connected to them. There's no way I can send them a message. And he's like, you have to find a way. And then Jyn gives K2 a blaster and she's like, you'll need this. You wanted one, right? And he says, your behavior, Jyn Erso, is continually unexpected.
Wow.
And then Cassian and Jyn run off. I liked that.
It was the closest thing to a compliment that K2 was going to give.
Yeah, that he was capable of giving.
Yeah.
Considering he did not like her for no reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
So the battle continues on the beach. We got the AT-ATs. And Baze has a grenade launcher that he launches at the AT-ATs, but it is not enough. But the rebels shoot it down. Yay.
Yeah, there was some like monkey with an automatic weapon that just took down its knee.
And Bodhi has a plan. He's going to get a comm to the rebels that they're trapped, but he needs to put out a signal. I didn't get this totally, but the whole point of it is there's a big switch. That's a master switch. And if they can turn on the master switch, then I don't know what happens.
And it just happens to be in like the middle of
the beach for no reason. And it's just a giant switch.
I don't really get why he has to plug in or what he's plugging into.
I don't know, but it looks like a hose.
Yeah, I kind of glazed over at that part too.
Yeah. So Cassian has to extract a specific tape from the tower with the files on it that have the Death Star. And he's talking to K2 through the little like comm link thing. And stormtroopers get to K2 and he pretends to be a bad guy for approximately 3 seconds.
Yeah.
But then Cassian is like, is everything going on over there okay, K2? And he's like, oh, there's a rebel. And then he has to kind of knock all of them down. And he does shoot someone with his new blaster, which I
Yay.
thought was important. He got to do that before he died.
I agree.
So then a ton, like a massive amount of TIE fighters come out and start firing at the rebels in the space war, Star War.
In the Star War.
And the rebels are relaying the message that they need to find this master switch. Jin's looking for the Death Star plans. It's like all this stuff is happening at once. And K2 is shooting down stormtroopers. And Jyn is trying to read all of these code names to find the Death Star plans. And she comes across one called
Stardust.
Leah's favorite nickname.
Yeah.
And she knows it's the right one because she's like, that's me. And Bodhi does get caught when he's trying to do his part of the plan, but the Imperial soldiers do get shot down.
Yeah.
So not too much tension there. That keeps on happening.
Yeah.
Where someone's like, we're about to die, and then somebody else shoots them.
Don't worry, they all die in the end anyway, so.
Yeah, no worries, guys.
Don't worry, they will all die.
It all ends tragically. So then K2 locates the file for Stardust, and Cassian has to use this giant claw machine to get it. So it was kind of giving me, Point Pleasant seaside vibes where you get the claw machine and you're like, I gotta line this up just right so I can get the little stuffed animal prize.
Yeah. The claw. Toy Story.
Oh, yeah, it was in Toy Story, huh? I only watched Toy Story once in my life.
Okay.
And K2 actually does get shot down. And he's dying, and he's telling them that they can climb, and he's going to lock down the vault tower. And then he says goodbye, and then he locks it down, and he gets totally fried, so he dies. And then I stopped watching it because I didn't want to see anything else after my most favorite character died.
Yeah, I was thinking about that K2 was the first one to go down.
And he was also the first droid I think we've ever seen die.
Yeah.
Because usually their information can just kind of get backed up. But even in this case, because I was kind of thinking like, oh, maybe he could get backed up somewhere. But no, the planet blows up.
Yeah,
so.
I think that if they had been able to retrieve his body, they probably could have saved him. But they all died.
Yeah.
As I keep saying.
Leah loves that part of the film.
No, I don't. It makes me sad.
Did you cry?
No, I got a little choked up on my aspirations.
Yeah. Oh no. Dear diary. Had a very clever pun today.
Came up with a zinger today.
So Krennic gets informed that someone accessed the data vault and Bodhi cannot get into the right place to plug in, and Cassian is telling him that he has to because they need to send the plans out or else this is all for nothing. And Bodhi gets the strength to just run through the battlefield in open fire and plugs himself in.
And he makes it.
And he makes it. Yay! And meanwhile, Jyn shoots the window out of the info tower and they start stripping down. And I was like, oh,
okay.
But no, it's just so that they can climb.
Yeah.
Unencumbered.
And they didn't get like totally naked. Like Kelli wished that Finn got totally naked when
they said he was naked. I was lied to. It doesn't make sense.
Oh my gosh.
So Jyn manages to grab the file, but Krennic is at a door that conveniently opens to the info tower, which is great. And Cassian starts shooting at him. And meanwhile, we see the master switch. And Shurt is like, oh, I'm going to use the Force and I'm going to go to it. So he keeps on repeating, I'm one with the Force and the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force and the Force is with me. And he just walks through the battlefield. No one's hitting him because he's got the Force on his side.
He sure does.
And Baze is like, no, come back. But Chirk gets it. And he does flip the master switch.
Yeah.
And so again, a lot of stuff is happening at once. So we see Cassian get shot, but he falls. And again, sort of a back-breaking situation, but
he's
doesn't
fine.
break his back.
Well, he is again limping fairly heavily when we see him next.
It's just not enough.
Yeah.
It's not enough for me.
It's the Force, Kelli.
It's the Force. I'm sorry. It's always the Force.
Yeah.
The Force is everything.
We also do see Bodhi get patched through when Chirrut flips the switch, so that's good.
Oh, yeah. I didn't bother writing that down because he had a whole conversation after.
Yeah.
Which we will get to. Don't worry. So Chirrut does get blown up, but he's still kind of alive, and Baze runs to him, and he's holding him as he's dying. And Chirrut says, look for the Force, and you will always find me. And then Baze starts chanting, the Force is with me, and I'm one with the Force. And then Chirrut dies. And Baze is really sad because they are
lovers.
True lovers. Yeah. So the Star War continues, and they manage to disable a Star Destroyer. I guess there's two up there.
Yeah.
And Bodhi does get his comm out. He says that they need to open the shield so that they can get the Death Star plans out. And then Bodhi gets blown up. So everyone's just dying real quick.
And Bodhi also says when he gets excited that it worked and it's working, he says, Galen, this is for you. And then he dies.
Yeah. Didn't matter too much to me.
I just feel like I can see that backstory of Bodhi and Galen, and they were probably very close.
Lovers.
They were probably lovers.
This is the only way to get to me.
Yeah.
If you want me to feel emotionally connected, you have to tell me that everyone's lovers.
They were definitely lovers. They were definitely lovers.
Oh, wait, that makes me so sad for them now.
I know. They're in heaven now together. Well, I don't believe in heaven. They're somewhere.
All right, relax. So Baze sees the explosion and he starts praying to the Force while he's shooting people down, but then he gets blown up too. So another one added to the tally.
Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust.
I was going to say that, but I thought it was insensitive.
And another one gone.
Leah's the insensitive one, not me.
Sorry.
So then Jyn has this little video game moment where there's like a spiky door that opens and closes.
Oh, yeah.
And she gets through it.
That's cool.
I was actually thinking that seems like something you would probably enjoy doing. Like in a non-lethal way, like just figuring out if you have the arm strength for it.
At the moment, I probably don't. I probably would have gotten chopped in half if I was up there.
And I would be filming it and I would be like, you're doing great, sweetie.
Oh no, you're great, sweetie. My legs.
My legs. That's a SpongeBob quote.
I know that's a SpongeBob quote.
I know, but you don't know SpongeBob, so I have to sometimes remind you.
I don't know SpongeBob like you know SpongeBob, but I know a little bit of SpongeBob.
I know SpongeBob intimately.
How is it?
Not the character, the show.
Daddy SpongeBob? Daddy number 4?
Daddy number 4 is SpongeBob. So she gets the little satellite dish at the top, which is not little. It's huge. I don't know why I'm saying little.
The tiny little satellite dish.
Just a small little satellite. And she sees all the fighting that's happening on the islands down below. And she plugs in the file, but it's like, antenna alignment is off. Please realign antenna. So she has to go run. I don't know why, but the antenna center is far away for no reason.
Yeah.
So she's got to go there. She's got to turn it. And then Krennic is going up the elevator to the top. So we know they're about to have a little shoot out. Why am I calling it a shoot down? That's not a thing.
A little shoot down.
So then the 2 Star Destroyers collide in space, which is cool.
Yeah.
I liked watching that.
And I like that the little rebel ship was the one causing the crash. It was just given all its power.
Yeah, it was just like thrusting forward.
Yeah.
And it ended up destroying. That was cool. So then Jyn is trying to run back to the dish, but someone shoots that little area where the antenna tower is.
Mhm.
And she has to kind of like find her way back. And then Krennic arrives and he points a blaster at her and he's like, who are you? Why does it matter?
Why? Why would he ask her that?
What if it was somebody else who wasn't her? What if it was one of the random rebels down at the beach? And he was like, who are you? And he'd be like, Jeff.
I'm just Jeff.
I'm Jeff. Why? What does it matter?
Yeah, there's no reason that he would have been clued in at all that
She's somebody important.
she was somebody, yeah.
Star Wars is obsessed with making everyone important.
Yeah.
Like every main character has to be somebody important to either the very good guys or the very bad guys. And they can't just exist.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so she's like, you know who I am. I'm Jyn Erso, daughter of Galen and Lyra. You've lost. And he's like, oh, did I? And she's like, for some reason, she wants to tell him the entire plan. So she's like, my dad built a fuse in the plan and I've just told the whole galaxy how to blow it up. Which, what if he wasn't about to die?
Yeah.
He could have just foiled your entire plan.
Yeah, because if Cassian didn't show up, and also she didn't send them yet.
Yeah. Well, that's what he says. He's like, you didn't send it. The shield's closed. And then he says, you'll die with the rebellion. But there's Cassian with a non-broken back here to save her. So great. I thought that they were going to have like a random kiss at the end and I was going to be so annoyed.
See, I'll save it. I'll save why I think they should have kissed.
Save it. I don't want to hear it. So one of the broken Star Destroyers falls into the shield and destroys that and the cool little aperture thing. So Jyn is able to transmit the signal and the rebels get it.
Yay.
Woo!
Radis was the name of that frog-looking guy.
I love Frog Guy.
Yeah, he was cool.
I'm a big fan of the frogs.
I know.
You know, I got to tell you, unrelated, but you know my grandma, so it's kind of related.
Yeah.
But she was telling me when I was younger, I used to spend my summers with her and I would catch frogs and put them in a jar and bring them into her house.
Oh my gosh. At my cousin's house, they lived behind this like weird lake thing that sometimes had frogs and tadpoles in it.
Yeah. No, we were by a lake. It was like a little condo and I would bring the frogs in and then I would sometimes let them loose because I didn't want them to be stuck in a jar.
Oh my God, in the house?
In the house. And she would scream and then I would have to catch them a second time
gosh.
in the house and then let them back out.
Did you ever find frogs that still had their tadpole tails? Because those were cool.
I didn't go into the water for them. I would only get the frogs that were like in the grass.
Okay.
I didn't want to mess with the ones in the water, you know?
Well, I did.
Did you kill any frogs? All the frogs that I messed with were alive.
No, we didn't like catch them. We just like played with them.
Oh, okay.
Played with their dead bodies. No, I'm kidding. I'm not gonna kill them.
Stop!
No, we only played.
I just said.
We only played with
I'm
them.
a big frog fan.
We just like looked at them and like, but I like the ones that were frogs, but they still had really long tails, like tadpoles.
Yeah, like little frog poles.
Yeah.
That's their mid-evolution Pokemon stage.
That's the name of their strip club, Frog Poles.
Jeez. Wait, Nintendo, if you're listening to this, you can definitely have a Pokemon called Frog Pole.
She gives you permission.
It's a really good name.
And if any of the frogs are listening, you can definitely open a strip club called Frog Pole.
I just want to say really quick before we finish this digression, I actually have some really clever Pokemon names in my head, but I would like to submit them directly to Nintendo.
Okay.
So
keep them a secret.
I'll keep them to myself. Yeah. And also I came up with a good Pokemon type that I think should exist.
Ooh.
I'll tell you offline.
It's a secret, everybody.
It's a secret. Okay. Anywho, the Death Star shows up because it goes through hyperspace and it showed up there. And Jyn and Cassian look at each other very sexily as they're going down the elevator.
Yeah, they did.
That was a loaded look,
it was
right?
very loaded. I wrote Jyn and Cassian look at each other seductively. Tarkin fires at the base.
Oh, that's the word.
What'd you say?
I wrote Jyn and Cassian look at each other sexily.
Sexily.
They were at the Frog Pole Club.
Their sex was raging.
And then Tarkin fires on Scarif because what are you going to do with a star killer?
Yeah.
Or planet killer, I guess I should say, aside from killing planets.
Mhm.
That's kind of the thing to do. So the rebel ships that are still alive fly off into hyperspace.
And after Tarkin fires on the base, Raditz realizes that everyone from Rogue One mission has now died. And he says, Rogue One, may the Force be with you. And then he tells all the ships to leave.
Yeah, and then they all hop off into hyperspace. And then Jyn and Cassian get to the beach and they hold hands. And he's like, your father would have been proud of you. And then they watch their imminent doom.
While they hug, they don't kiss.
Well, no, that didn't happen yet.
Oh, sorry.
Darth prepares to board a rebel ship and then they hug and die.
Ugh. So here's the reason I feel like I remembered them kissing and why I think they should have kissed. If I was in this situation...
You're sounding a little Kelly-like here.
Listen, I like romance just as much as you do. But if I was in this situation and I was about to die...
You'd want to go out with a bang.
I want to go out with a bang. Hey! Dear Diary came up with another zinger today.
I got a pun for you, Diary.
But if I was knowing I was going to die and I was like with a hottie, even if I was with just a regular non-hottie, but I mean, everyone's hot in their own way. I couldn't think of a better way to die than going out with a bang. Like if you know it's coming and there's someone next to you.
If you know it's coming, you're going to be too.
Exactly.
That's subtle enough, right? That's still parent friendly.
Yeah.
The kids don't know what we're talking about.
No idea what we're talking.
They don't know. They don't know.
They have no idea.
Should we get back to it or do you have more thoughts
No, that's all I have
on
to say.
this?
But I just have to say if that was my situation, here's the real reason, because I'm making fun of it. But I think that there's nothing more powerful than human connection. And to like die in that last moment when you know it's coming, I just feel like you would crave human connection.
I'm not gonna lie to you. When I think in a non-sexy way, like when I think of what is the epitome of connection to me, I feel like a hug is pretty big.
Yeah.
And I say that both you and I are actually non-huggers.
We're not huggers, yeah.
We hate hugging people. And I think that, I don't know about you, but for me, it's just something that feels very intimate. And I don't want to be hugging people I don't know because to me, it feels like a very personal type of connection.
Yeah, for me, like I hate purposeless hugs. Like I hate hugging to say hello and goodbye because that can be accomplished by saying hello and goodbye. If I'm gonna hug somebody, I want to like feel power behind it. I want it to like mean something and not just be like, this is just what we do when we say hello and goodbye, because then it feels very robotic.
Yeah, it loses its meaning.
The hug did give me that kind of human connection moment I was looking for.
I think that a hug is a great way to show the closest form of human connection that you can have without it being romantic.
Yeah.
And it can be romantic, but it is like a way of showing love that doesn't have to be romantic.
Yes.
So I liked the hug. And you'll never catch me saying that over a kiss ever again. So write this down, save it somewhere. Then we do see the rebels downloading the plan, but they are trapped in a little section of the ship. They have a little floppy disk, which I love because like
old school,
all this technology and you just have a little floppy disk.
Yeah.
But they're trapped in a section of the ship, and definitely the coolest shot of the whole movie was Darth showing up and his lightsaber lighting up and lighting him up. Stunning, gorgeous, amazing.
Loved it.
So good. And he starts cutting down all the rebels, and there's like a door that's like half open, but it's stuck. And one of the rebels passes off the floppy disk right before he gets stabbed with the lightsaber. And then they launch a small ship away with the plans, and some guy has it, and he brings the transmission to who, Leah?
Leia. Her name's Leia.
I'm to ask. Oh my gosh, you're so dumb. Oh, now everyone's going to think that I'm dumb.
No, I love it. I'm feeling so weird today. I don't know why.
You're acting weird.
The first episode, we were both like so tired, and now I'm just like really punchy.
Yeah, we've surpassed the tiredness, and now we're just in delirium.
Now we're just weird.
But don't worry, it's almost over, because this is literally the last shot, because he's like, what is it we've received? And Leia says, hope.
Hope.
And Leah starts crying.
I did get a little choked up when all the deaths started happening, but I didn't full cry.
The thing that choked me up was seeing the shot of Leia, because I don't know, there's something about seeing an actor who died, giving you that moment of hope. You know, I don't know. It's just good.
And she didn't look as dead behind the eyes as Tarkin did, but she wasn't on screen for as long.
I thought that hers looked incredible. If I didn't know that, well, I mean, it was slightly CGI looking, but if I wasn't looking too closely and I didn't know, I would think that potentially that was shot and used from another piece of footage from the original.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I thought it was very well done.
I thought it looked really good, yeah.
So that's the movie. It ended after that.
Yay, it's over.
Yay, it's over. You sound like me.
Next week we'll be back with episode 4 again, because that's just
we're starting the podcast over.
Completely over. So you still think it's low tier?
It's low tier. Obviously, my tiers for Star Wars are not the most intense. Like, talking about the quality of the films, I'm probably not the person to ask.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure this is like a very high quality thing. But the things that I like are space and romance. And that was not in this movie.
Yeah, that's true.
And I also just I like a very strong bad guy. And I think that's something that I didn't get in episode 7, 8, and 9, and I feel like I didn't really get it here either. Like, I like a bad guy who's so bad.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, Kylo is pretty bad.
I liked him in the beginning. I thought it was crazy that he killed his dad.
His daddy.
His daddy number 5. So come back next week to see movie Daddy number 5.
Well, yeah, we're going to watch Daddy number 5 next week. We're really excited.
We're going to try not to be a little sleep deprived by then. So
it's been a weird weekend.
It's been weird. It's been weird, you know? But we're good. And we survived Rogue One.
I'm excited to watch Solo.
I'm excited too as well, because you know who I love?
Han Solo and Chewie.
Well, yeah, Chewie. I was going to say Chewie.
Mostly Chewie.
I don't know. Like, I love him. I love that Han and him are just like besties with a bond.
Yeah. I'm really excited for this one. It's one I haven't really watched that much, so it's not, as if I'm seeing it for the first time, but I'm sure that there are going to be new details that I pick up on that I didn't see last time, so it's going to be a fun one.
Should I make a prediction?
Yeah, what's it going to be about?
I predict that there's going to be a female droid who's in love with Han Solo.
Oh, God.
And she's going to die in his arms.
I literally can't remember what I'm thinking of.
That's my prediction.
Ugh.
So come back next week. We're going to wrap up this season. This was a long season.
Yeah, it was a long season. It's crazy because we're almost at our 1-year anniversary on the podcast.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Someone told me that.
No way.
I was like, oh, I didn't realize.
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, we started, I think, I want to say April 13th.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
We might wrap up no, we'll probably go a little bit over the 1-year mark.
Oh.
Yeah, but that's pretty cool.
We could have been.
Yeah.
Well, we'll say it in the next episode, and we'll try to remember the date.
Yeah. Got to see when these are going to be released, because I forget,
Yeah.
We pre-record a lot.
Yeah, we do. Okay, well, we'll see you guys next week for Daddy number 5, aka Han Solo.
Just Solo.
aka Solo.
Just Solo. Yeah.
That's what I said. Mandela effect. I said Solo. She heard Han Solo. I don't know why.
Oh my gosh. I hope we didn't lose all of our viewers from saying daddy about 100 times.
Daddy.
Let's get the daddy count on these episodes.
This is why we need to have a YouTube video of us, because we could just have a little daddy count in the background.
Daddy counter. Love it. But hey, if you want to check out the YouTube channel, we do have a cute graphic. So
we do have a cute little animated graphic, and I am Han Solo, so get ready for my movie.
And I am Princess Leia, so yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye. You've been listening to the It's All Geek to Me podcast, hosted by Leah and Kelli. Make sure to hit subscribe in your favorite podcast player and give us a rating. You can also follow us on Twitter at All Geek Podcast. New episodes drop every Thursday. See you next week.